Good evening. Welcome to the March 28th, 2023 regular Homeless Commission meeting. Denise, could you please take roll?
Chair Benjamin Strickland.
Here.
Vice Chair Stacy Fees, absent. Commissioner Leslie Mugan.
Here.
Commissioner Linda Cunningham.
Here.
Commissioner Gwen Nash.
Here. And we have a quorum.
Yes, we do have quorum.
Very well. If there are any items that arose in the 72-hour posting deadlines, the point in the meeting where a vote may be taken to add an item to the agenda with a 2/3 vote majority.
I'd like to add an item to discuss the mobile vehicle and their opportunity to present.
Very well. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. This agenda item for the mobile shower unit will be added to the agenda. Derek, where in the agenda would that go? Are we going to just start with that, or will we put it at the end of our?
We can add it to the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll
Right.
get through the main business, and then, it's a quick update, so we can add it at the end.
Very well. So that's one item added. Are there any additional items that wish to be added to the agenda? Seeing none, moving on to public comment for the commissioners. Members of the public wishing to address the commission on matters within the jurisdiction of the City of Seaside, but not on this agenda, may do so during the public comment period for up to 3 minutes. Comments on specific agenda items are heard under that item. For public record, please state your name. Do we have anyone online?
Chair Strickland, there's no one online wishing to make public comment.
Very well. Moving along to our agenda items for approval of minutes. I just want to make a note that here that due to technical difficulties, we're going to be approving the minutes from the February 21st, 2023 special meeting, as well as today's March 28th regular meeting. Those minutes will be approved at our next regular meeting, which looks to be in May. Moving on to business items. Item A, receive update on plans to host a community listening session on the state of homelessness in the City of Seaside. Received direction from Commissioner Cunningham on options and logistics for hosting a community listening session on the state of homelessness in the City of Seaside.
I have failed to accomplish my task, but I am off work next week and plan to get that completed during that time that I am off work.
Very well, and I'm sure if we can find a date in April, maybe we can work on that item in April or in May.
Can I just ask a question? Derek, you sent us information about the community input session happening on April 5th, I believe, for the city and county of Monterey. So it feels like we really want to make sure we distinguish what we're trying to do from that and what that is and what we think that's going to be. I don't know if we can learn more about what that's going to be, or maybe we should attend it and then maybe adjust our vision potentially based on what's discovered at that. Just a thought.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. It was something that was brought to my awareness that it would be taking place. And my thought was it could be beneficial to the commission if one or, all of you or, a couple of you can attend. You'll get a sense of what something like that looks like. You can decide if, you want to hold a similar type of format, of a listening session for the City of Seaside, or if you want to, yes, change it up so that, based off what our community needs are, we're more, trying to address those.
I'm going to try to go. I don't know if I can make promises that I'll be there, but I'm going to try to go.
Okay, great.
That's about 5 days after my surgery. I'm not really sure if I'll be able to go or not. If I feel well enough to, I would love to go. I can't remember if there's a Zoom option. Hopefully there's a online option. Again, I unfortunately I cannot commit.
Yeah, I'll take good notes and I'll share them with everybody. Not a problem.
Thanks so much.
If I can go, no promises.
Very well. So since we're tabling item A, do we have to do a vote on it or open a public comment for it? or table it?
At least we'll open up public comment if there is any feedback, as we're still contemplating and planning this listening session, to take any guidance or suggestions.
Very well, so I'll open up public comment on item A, hosting a listening session in City of Seaside. If members of the public wish to comment on item A, you have 3 minutes to do so. Please state your name. And there's no one online.
Chair Strickland, there's no one online wishing to make public comment at this time.
Very well. So do I have a motion to table item A for our next meeting? Is there a second? Very well. All in favor, say aye for tabling item A. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Item A is tabled for the next meeting. Item B. Develop fiscal year plan 2023-2024 Homeless Commission Annual Work Plan. The Homeless Commission is meeting to develop and approve a Homeless Commission fiscal year 2023-2024 work plan and to request through the City Council at the upcoming budget meetings an increase in their community relations budget in order to serve the programs and services in the community that support the unhoused. The commission will identify the amount it wishes to increase its community relations budget to engage these efforts. The current budget is $3,500 per year. So as I understand, last year we had kind of a strategy session working around our annual work plan. So I think it would be good to just review the work plan. I believe the budget amount that's listed here is different than what we had the previous year.
Yes, so before we go into a deep dive conversation, and we start thinking about, what you'd like to fund, I did provide within your agenda a feedback from our finance department, hoping to explain how the budget works. And so try to make it simple. All commissions are given a standard budget. $3,500 is that standard budget. Anything else that is then to be requested on top of that actually falls under a department's recreation or operational budget. In this case, the recreation department, which, as a staff liaison program, we are under and we help to support. With recommendations to City Council, which is what happened last year for the work plan, where the chief went and requested, okay, we have these ideas within our work plan. These are the dollar amounts that we'd like to use to be able to try to make these things happen. The City Council said, okay, if these things can happen within the department's operational budget, we may be able to use some money for that. But it's not that the money that's listed in the work plan is the Homeless Commission's funds solely, and that you have access to those, to use how you please.
Very well. So we'll come up with a number at the end of our work here, and that would just be a request for the next fiscal year.
And so then when it comes time for the budget conversations that the City Council will have with, the different departments, these recommendations will be then given, to the City Council for their approval.
Very well. Commissioner?
Just to make sure clear in my mind, are you saying we have a $3,500 default budget and we can ask for more than that? The city could approve that. And depending on what's going on when we may or may not be able to get those funds.
Yes, I mean, essentially, but per the previous work plan and what was suggested and listed then as the proposed expenditures, they're proposed, and the city was willing, because the recommendations from this body to the council were made, where it highlighted, the specifics, the expenditures you wanted to try to engage. The city was willing to try to work with that and see if they could provide that funds. So then moving forward for next fiscal year, basically we have to have the conversation again right now and decide, do we want to make the same recommendations with hopefully getting the city to approve those? Do we want to make different ones? But yes, knowing you have just 3,500, that is a standard amount for the commission, no more than that, but you can make recommendations to try to get more.
Okay, I did read the letter from, I apologize, do not know how to pronounce Victor's last name.
Mhm.
And other than the standard $3,500 budget, I'm not really sure what else the rest of that paragraph says. I do appreciate you clarifying.
Yeah.
So Jerry, this is your budget, so actually, we're advising on dollars we would like to see these items to your budget. For potential work here, is that what maybe?
Budget that so we are under the recreation department, and so the recreation department has an operational budget. Then it's broken down more specified by the programs and their ability to be able to help, oversee and manage that, between, its different bodies in the city, et cetera. And so we are, as the staff liaison, we have eyes on all of what the funding that was recommended to the city council and approved last fiscal year for the work plan. However, it's not our program's money either. It's just it's just generally under the recreation department's operational budget.
Were there any further discussion items before we review our work plan?
No, but I noticed that Commissioner Nash has a calendar and I love that idea. Now I wish I hadn't given away all the 2023 calendars I was mailed. So I would have a calendar to bring this. Dang, maybe I'll get one. That's probably too late, but anyhow, very nice.
I do plan to try to create a general simple calendar for fiscal year of, kind of main, activities that the commission should be informed of, such as, when the work plan needs to be discussed and turned in, when in the start of the fiscal years are, just to help out. And so look to be getting that, soon.
Very well. So I would like to look at, I'd like to look at page 1 of our work plan. Has the commission had a chance to re-review page 1?
Page 3 of 7 or page 1 of 7?
Actually, I mean page 3 of 7. I apologize, because page 1 and 2 look pretty good. Commission members' names. Page 3 is where it begins on the mission statement. There we go.
So just to help, start the discussion, there's certain pieces to the work plan, like the mission statement, the historic background, the general duties, responsibilities, which most likely won't change, right? Because that's just standard information that, the body came up with to describe, that's more descriptive versus once you're on page 4, where it starts with fiscal year 22-23 work plan, section A, cultivate housing first, going in from there and deciding, are we meeting those, wanting to change those might be the best direction to go. It would be a lot, I think, if you're trying to completely change your mission statement, everything tonight, right?
Very well. Let's take a look at page 4. Page 4, I think, right? It's actually page 4.
Let me pull that up for you.
It's related to the general duties. I mean, I think that it sounds like today's not the day, but I think there are some things here that we should really think about. How do we honor those general duties? I'm not sure I think there's some things we do really well. And I think there's other things that we really haven't touched as far as I know under the time that I've served on this commission. And I'm not saying that they should be or shouldn't be. I just think that if it's something that we are going to keep in the future, and again, I don't think we have to figure that out tonight. We should really try to figure out how we organize ourselves to do that, right? So if we're gonna be advocates, we should have somebody who's in charge of advocacy, right? And I can imagine with the budget the way it is, that if there's something that we really think is important, then we have to come to the city council meeting and advocate for it. Like, it's not just your job, Derek, right? I mean, you probably would love to have the support behind you and helping move these things. So I feel like we just have to think about it maybe a little differently. I do think there's a lot of great stuff that we do, but and I'm not suggesting that there isn't. I'm just saying that I'm not sure all those bullets relate to the work that we've been doing. And if we believe that we should keep them, we should think about how we structure ourselves that way. And I know we only have 4 bodies here, right? And I know I think we have an opportunity to have 6 people. And maybe there's a desire to think about bringing somebody in who has advocacy in their background, who could really help us in that area. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas. That's all. No, I appreciate that. Thank you, Linda. Yes. Oh, thank you for putting that up there, because I totally forgot what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And, and that might be something else we consider in the future, right? So like, okay, city council meetings coming up. We know this is on the agenda. Who's going to attend, right? So that we can come back to the commission and be that advocacy body at some level. I mean, that takes a commitment, right? So there's a lot of things to consider.
And just to reinforce it, it's important, work, to be able to have someone that can be a voice, that can, speak to the needs and plead, with the council, that this is important work and we need help.
Yeah, agreed.
So in other words, it should stay in the work plan because it's significant and it's just a matter of finding someone maybe to take the lead or be the point of contact, however you want to, term it, but yeah.
I think that's great.
Very well. It looks like our responsibilities, duties for the commission, they look pretty clear still, that we could keep carrying forward. So we would also have to come up with a list of our accomplishments from this previous fiscal year. Derek, do we have a list together already for our accomplishments this past year?
Yeah, we had started contemplating it, as a staff liaison program to be able to help, since we, we're the point of contact with the city, and a lot of what our activities involved funding, to other programs and organizations serving the unhoused. So what I have listed here is we awarded $5,000 in funding to support local homeless organizations and advocacy organizations and nonprofits for holiday needs and activities. So with that $5,000, we supported the Community Partnership for Youth program, Casa de Noche Buena, Gathering for Women, Salvation Army, the Village Project, and Outreach Unlimited iHelp. And then additionally, with our funding, our budget, we were able to award up to $12,000 in funding to support efforts by food and security programs serving homeless individuals and families in the city of Seaside. And we awarded funds to Bethel Missionary Baptist Church, Greater Victory Temple Church of God in Christ, All in Friends Sunday Breakfast, and the Veterans Transition Center of Monterey County. And then if we recall, we collaborated with Bethel Missionary Church to pass out backpacks at the National Night Out event that took place on the City Hall lawn. And then we were able to complete the donation of the Home Depot storage shed to Casa de Noche Buena. In the previous fiscal year, we were facilitating it, and then we were able to finalize that within this fiscal year. Those are the major activities that we could recall.
That sounds like a pretty complete list to me. If we move through with approving our 2023-2024 work plan and we find that we left something out, would we just have to have a small motion to do that at a future meeting to just add it on there?
No, this meeting is to design the 2023-2024. So say, for instance, specifically as we're looking at the expenditures for projects and programs, we know there's some other activities that we weren't able to get to. It doesn't mean those can't be recommendations to the city council for the following fiscal year, with the hopes that, with more time now, organization, as we're going to have more meetings, we'll be able to get more things done.
Very well. Moving along to page 7. Expected expenditures for projects and programs budget requests. So I'm going to read last year's budget. $12,000 a year, or around $1,000 a month for the City of Seaside food and security programs. $2,500 for presentations for homelessness solutions, travel expenditures for consultants, etc. $2,500 support and facilitate a minimum of 1 community homeless outreach forum. $5,000 holiday donations to local homeless advocacy organizations and nonprofits. $5,000 for backpacks, school supplies, and clothing for at-risk and homeless students. $48,000 for a mobile hygiene unit, showers, laundry, toilets, and hand washing in cooperation with local faith-based organizations to manage, and that totaled to $75,000. As far as I can tell, we did not utilize the $48,000 for the mobile hygiene units. Did we spend anything on backpacks last year?
We did not.
Okay.
We, as I had stated, we at least collaborated with one of the faith-based organizations to be able to pass backpacks out. And then it just seems throughout the year, as we kind of brought this up during the few meetings we had, we just couldn't find an appropriate time to give out backpacks, as we during the school year we felt those items were probably already something that our youth had. It's not something that we shouldn't consider then maybe for the start of, the next fiscal year, which would be July, and then it's the summertime, but then that would lead us into the fall and we could be ready by the fall, for something like that.
It does. Maybe we could get a jump on it in May or hold a special.
We certainly can. Yeah, we certainly can, try to engage before the end of this fiscal year, right? It's July to June, and yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. That's it's new for all of us, and we're learning and we're growing, and I think we're improving in our ability to support our unhoused, and
I'd like to say, I thought we had mentioned maybe we want to be a little more generic how this might stand, so if it's a little bit different, we could just give ourselves more flexibility, right? We say 5,000 backpacks to 5 clothing. We can't spend it on anything else, but that's, if I remember correctly, and I do, we thought for that. And I'm not sure if all of our local organizations that are assisting, I like the term house people, and I think that maybe we could just to make sure we're broad, people are phased out, so we're not limited to faith-based organizations. Just the thought is to make sure we have, not saying we wouldn't support them, I'm just saying that we're trying to not put ourselves in a corner for some time.
Okay,
but. And if I last it on if I don't think we spent the 2,500 on communications or the 2,500 for support and facilitate, even though it looks like we have until June to do our listening session.
okay,
So it does look like we'll make that by the end of the year.
Okay.
Mhm.
very well. So you stole my thoughts right there, because I was gonna mention that we hadn't spent money on the presentation, you know, on the, like a listening session yet. Or outreach forum, but we haven't, did we spend any of this 2,500 for presentation solutions or travel expenses for consultants?
As far as I know, we have not.
Very well. So the way it looks here is that there was 2,500 for presentations, not spent. 2,500 for a homeless outreach forum, not spent. So that's 5,000 right there, plus 5,000 for backpacks. That totals 10,000, plus the 48,000 for the mobile hygiene unit. That looks like a total of 58,000 that wasn't spent, and it looks like we only spent 17,000. Is my math right on that?
Yes.
Very well.
So far, I'm hoping to spend 2,500.
Okay. Okay.
I was just gonna make a recommendation. If we're thinking about our budget request for next year, maybe we should look at it from the work plan perspective. So in B, we have engaging and collaborating with organizations. Going back to Linda's point about maybe being a little bit more broad and less specific, we could say, you know, our hope is to use X number of dollars in that category. And then for C, if we keep C, you know, the inviting voices, whether that's other organizations or folks that are at risk of being homeless, we could attach money to that, and then potentially D as well. So we're not actually identifying specific things that we would do like we did last year, but attaching it to some of the goals we have in our work plan. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me.
These are earlier than the budget.
Yeah, so B is engaging and amplifying and collaborating. That's where we spent our $17,000 this year, and you could imagine that it could potentially be more if we added the backpacks, right? And then you have inviting voices, like what does that look like? How much does that cost? And then D, the investigation, whether it's the things, Linda, you put in your list that we would want to like investigate further, or other things. I mean, we could ask for some budget for that too.
So I believe,
Yeah, that was it. I was just reacting to your thought. I don't know if we're at the budget part yet. Do we have to go through?
we can go back in any order you guys would like and go over as much as you
Yeah,
want.
it's a discussion. And then when you're ready and you want to make motions or vote on anything, you can. But it's a discussion. So, you know, there's no.
For inviting all voices to the table, I believe it's what we've done in the past where we've invited speakers for iHelp or Casa de Noche Buena to speak here at our commission meetings, maybe even give presentations. And I'm happy to do that, facilitate that as much as possible. But I think as far as the budget for presentations from homelessness solutions and consultants, that would be someone that might be out of the area. They might have some kind of program or ingenuity where they can help out with homelessness in a way that might not be local to here. So I believe that's where that funding came from.
Can I ask about what's these number, the $12,000 of the insecurity? Was that money distributed and how did that go?
Yes. Yes, that money was distributed. And that went to 4 organizations, Bethel Missionary Baptist Church, Greater Victory Temple Church of God in Christ, Allen Friends Sunday Breakfast, and the Veterans Transition Center of Monterey County.
And were they pleased with the results?
Oh,
our
certainly.
grant?
I have some. I have some thank you cards here, which, we can pass around at the end, but yeah, certainly. And, as I engaged and was able to hand over, the funds, which in the future, I think it would be nice to have commissioners do it, as it's really your work. But I did, at least, communicate that, if there's any way to, demonstrate how it benefits you, because we like to be able to continue doing these types of things in the future. It's helpful for us then, and it gives us then feedback to bring to the council. They can see how it's beneficial and they'd be more open to wanting to continue to help.
In the future, would it be possible that we distribute these funds at a meeting? Is it, or we want to be more personal?
I like that idea, we certainly can, invite, a representative from each of the organizations that might, be awarded funds.
And then they could do a report on how this is gonna help them, because I'm confident they will know
Yeah.
immediately what they're gonna do. And then I would like to make a recommendation that we, if we ask for more.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm
And-
assuming we could donate more and they would not say no.
And I just to remind the commission, within the RFP for this, we did ask that 90 days, post receiving the funds, we'd like some kind of presentation or check-in and for the commission, so they can understand how the funds were used and be able to advocate for themselves, for the future.
So does that mean inviting them to a meeting to do
That's-
this?
that's correct.
Is that the follow-up, and then
That's
who's
yeah.
who's tasked with?
I can follow up with them.
And then do we just add it on as an agenda item to whatever meeting tonight?
Yeah, so it'd be just an agenda, and it's not it doesn't. A business item, or is it more just presentation? But we'll figure out where it fits in the agenda, but it would be an agenda item, yes.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I'd say it'd be best to try to do them all in one meeting versus, right, spread out, right? And so that could
I'm
be,
assuming they all know each other, but if they don't, it'd be great to make sure we're helping them.
Right, it's a
One of
great
our
way for,
members to
right,
help
great way
them.
for networking on top of, them being able to share the benefits, yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
Right.
So back to last year's budget, Commissioner Cunningham, didn't you submit some information for possible new ideas as far as funding was concerned?
Yes, I did a brain dump of things, but again, I don't want to pin us in a corner of saying we need to do, I'm not quite sure how we can bundle it up in such a way that it's specific yet vague, or vaguely specific. I want to be kind of specific, but I also want to make sure we're not in that corner where we're like, it's September backpacks, we kind of missed that. What do we do with this money now?
Right. So my thought, I did look through that, and there were, correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, but there's like multiple situations where small amounts of funds could go a long way if someone is in some kind of trouble circumstance, either helping with car repairs or bike repairs or chargers. So I did have a thought, and I wanted to see your thoughts on this. What if there was funding where it said for miscellaneous expenses for helping alleviate homelessness? And we have like a miscellaneous funds put aside that we could use on some of your ideas. Okay.
And I literally yesterday I just saw a homeless person, maybe they had like a little camera, and somebody was pulling out behind the auto parts store to give him a job or something, and he was supposed to be pretty. And this is hard.
Right.
Anyhow, I'm thought I had that page, but I'll find it.
It's on the agenda packet, I believe, right?
And I saw it.
Wouldn't that just come under section D then, investigating options to provide additional services? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So it would, and it does, but as far as on the budget items, where we have these dollar amounts, I don't believe we have something that takes a miscellaneous into account for miscellaneous. Do we have anything for item D on last year's budget?
The mobile hygiene unit.
The mobile hygiene unit, you
Okay.
know, and another point of guidance when we think about anything funding, budget related. You know, I think the chief might have explained it, but it's hard for the city to work with small amounts of dollar, right? You know, we need, you know, $35 here to help, you know, for this. We need $100 here to help with this. We need the city won't be able to operate that way as it relates to supporting funding type things, right? The reason why we're able to do things such as the, you know, support the food and security programs, the holiday donations, is those are large, easy amounts for the city to be able to factor into budgets and be able to disseminate, you know, checks and things of that nature. So just as you're contemplating this, you know, ideas for what to fund, we just to keep in mind, too many small items that you're trying to break down funding for most likely won't be, you know, approved or accepted by the council.
So would we happen to have a community partner that if we wrote them a check for $500 from our miscellaneous fund that doesn't exist yet, but hopefully it does, we write, like, say we write a check to the Village Project, this is just an example, for $500 or $750, and they can maybe reach out and help some folks that came to them get, like, fix their tire on their car or give them a new car battery or a new bike, something in that sort of circumstance. Is that something that would be more doable than?
That, yes, that would be a easier recommendation request to the city council to say, yes, we'd like to partner with a local organization that might be able to do smaller amounts of money that supports, you know, more minor needs for the unhoused, to, you know, to be able to, you know, engage those things.
Okay.
Then yes, yeah, versus us, you know, versus this body and us trying to do that.
Okay, so I believe that we could vote to add an amount for a miscellaneous budget, but then after it gets accepted, we would have our, like, homework we would have to do, maybe call a couple organizations to say, can you guys do these sort of situations? Or if we gave you a check here, would you be able to help that out?
So they would more like a resource in
Right,
that would do that.
Like on a retainer almost.
yes,
And I would say it's better to get on that now, because remember, the fiscal year is until July. So
Okay.
the budget meeting, it hasn't happened yet,
okay.
right? And so I have more ability if I can also have more detail, be more informed as to who versus saying, oh, well, we'll figure it out. Again, right, the city council doesn't work with maybes, and we'll see what could happen versus like it's specific. It's, you know.
What about doing an RFP? Kind of like what we did for the food insecurity program, actually asking for proposals of organizations who would be willing to support that kind of work, you know, smaller work, right? But being a partner in the community, right? And we assign a certain amount of dollars, and then they would take on that much work, knowing that they're going to be paid for by the city.
Well, we
or whatever that
discussed that at our last meeting. It's on my notes for the listening session to ask these organizations for a small, medium, and large ask. Like, what would be a small thing that you can ask that we might be able to fund, a medium thing we might be able to help funding with, and a large thing? And that is going to be part of my survey for these groups as either part of our listening session or prior to our listening session with these groups.
Yeah, but I'm wondering though, if you're thinking about like an auto dealership or a bike shop, they wouldn't necessarily be at a listening session, right?
Well,
So
I didn't know if we would work directly with them or if because I don't know if we would be working directly with them or if we'd be working with an organization that would then work with them.
When they have a voucher, the client, and you bring their receipt for what they need to give that resource place that we, or agency that we facilitate with, are able to give it out according to that request.
Yeah.
I feel like we did this Seaside food insecurity programs. We just said we'd ask for $12,000 for food insecurity programs. We didn't say specific anything. Maybe along the unhoused insecurity program, just something, some vague, that we want to be able to have a program with, let's say, $10,000 that we can distribute to help organizations. Yeah, I don't have the good words. I'm not being able to come up.
Sure.
Half a bucket.
Right.
And they might be sleeping in the car.
Mhm. That, yes, right.
Might need a battery to stay warm.
Certainly, yeah. Or, right, or another example, registrations, that's a big one.
That's a big
For
one.
those who are residing in their vehicles, and there's restrictions to access certain programming, like safe parking program, if your car isn't, currently registered. But the safe parking program is a resource and services for that population. So, the very thing that is allowing them to get support, there's a restriction to it that might be more easily, able to, take care of. Mhm.
And so now they're being cast out, everything, but they, outside of the CDB, that time in the southern campus was pulled out in the and they gave them vouchers to do whatever they needed to do.
Right.
So when you know that there's an entity that can go to receive a hotel voucher as well, or go.
Ongoing, right? Because one thing about the vouchers things that, as a program that, worked with the county Department of Social Services is it's attached to inclement weather. It's very restrictive, right? It's only a seasonal thing, right? It's from, November through March. People need vouchers throughout the whole year for various reasons. And so being able to, support that in certain ways.
And like this,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
A atmospheric river with a rising day.
Yeah.
We know that atmospheric river.
Right.
Anyhow, it doesn't go back to the question.
Mhm. So, mhm. No, right. So exactly, because it would take, right, versus, yes, versus being able to work with an organization where they work with housing and work with those types of resources and supports, and I kind of like the idea of the RFP, because if it's generalized enough, you could have a bike shop ask for funds, a pet, someone that works with pets that, you could have an auto, like the cardinality out here does a lot of extra support beyond what, just selling cars
Right.
for people in need. Well, I already know that, right? And so I'm sure, like someone like them might, want to then take advantage, right? To be able to increase their efforts, right? And so.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to build the relationships in the community as well, right?
Right.
And extend them and expand them.
Yes.
even together for women, agents,
Mhm.
that we do. There as well, be able to use bias, or with the mass location of people know where that's where they can go. If they set up.
Okay.
So we could say that, the number of $5,000 or $10,000 to support private corporation providing support to unhoused. Well, this would be to go to like Garden Alley, maybe a bike shop, who are doing work to support them, and then, but it would be for Seaside. Well, they're not residents in Seaside, how would we? I'm gonna say the Seaside residents, but if you're out, you're not.
So,
you're
yeah.
neighbors,
Sure. Well, if you think about it with the any of the organizations that provide services to the unhoused, because of the level of transience with that population, there's no way to ever narrow down, are you a Seaside resident? Are you, right? Versus the way we did it with the food insecurity RP, right, was we supported organizations that happen to be located in Seaside.
Right.
And that was a way to at least try to encourage that we're meeting, the residents within this jurisdiction.
Right.
That or high shops, that's not their specialty. And, they can be directed to go to those conditions to receive, a certain level of service that we need for that. My suggestion is we still stick with agencies that facilitate health restricted, the one house, the road, and we, that's what.
Sure. And I'm, as we think about these more smaller or I don't mind, not necessarily minor needs, because to the unhoused, they're major needs, right? We have to remember that, right? But yeah, right. But per individualized support, as these would be, like a person here who needs registration or a person there who needs bike repair. I'm sure there are organizations that want to do that work, or maybe even already offer, to some degree, that those kinds of supports, but it's not significant enough, because we are aware that there are many out there who these needs are going unmet, right? And so trying to figure out then how do we increase that with those organizations that do this work and, could use the funding to expand their efforts.
Very well. So I'm looking at our totals here. Are there any amounts that we want to change what the totals are that we're requesting on the budget that are already on here, or should we combine some of these and update what our parameters are for maybe like the $10,000 that can alleviate homelessness, given that, say, private organizations for stuff such as bikes, auto repairs?
I'd like to make a excerpt here where we're 25 for the presentation and homes solution. I don't know if it's incorporated or can be incorporated, but we do have on the table where they're to bring the vehicle down
Right.
for review. And is that the area where those funds will be used, because they will be, they have, allocated funds to drive the vehicle down the person from the street. And I don't know, we have to pay for this on the side. How that work with those funding can be used to allocate for that.
So can I make a point of order? Because the mobile hygiene unit, it's included in our work plan, which is item B, but at the very beginning of the meeting, we passed a motion. So item C would be to talk about the mobile hygiene unit. And I think it's imperative, because we have a $48,000 listed here, but there's an email in this packet that discusses that, like, actual costs.
All I'm asking at this point is, when you're talking about consolidating the funds, I'm just interjecting that before we do that. Because can that be used for that? That's all I'm asking before you vote to, yes, let's, work together. That's the only reason I brought it up, because it is a presentation.
So you're suggesting that they're consultants and we would need to pay the consultant, the
But-
travel expenditures, yeah.
Or bill to you, that's all I'm
I
asking.
mean, I think that's reasonable.
I think that's reasonable.
Yes.
Are you saying that these budget items, separate presentation, separate from support, facilitate minimum community homeless poverty forum?
Right, I'm saying before we do go, if you're thinking about combining the funds and bringing it into one, you remove that. Would that option be there? That's all I'm saying. Just put it on the table to look at.
Okay.
Is there a need to combine those?
No, I was asking merely as possibilities. If we wanted to combine anything, it was just, I was posing a question.
And I was just interjecting.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think we're getting confused between the current budget and the
Right.
future, right? So
Right.
I see the $2,500 for the consultant in our current, well, potentially in our current, right? We have
Yes.
to ask.
Yeah.
So that seems totally reasonable. I think for
Yeah,
the future.
that was, yeah,
Right.
so as it, the heading says, it's an expected expenditure, right? Meaning
Right.
it was recommended and the city council said, okay, well, if you can make this happen, we expect that money will be spent and used for that particular thing. Right, it's not like right, it's not a rollover thing, right?
Right.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Let's see.
So we're really wanna, like I had a spreadsheet, that I like that format. So we're saying in next year's budget, we want to keep a bucket for presentation for homelessness solution. We want to keep a bucket for facilitate.
Yes,
We want to continue that.
yes,
And then I'm assuming you want to continue having a bucket for the food and support food security programs.
yes,
And so those three things are keeping. And I have a feeling our holiday donations is an example,
yes,
and we want to keep that bucket. I feel like we've painted ourselves in the corner with the backpack, school supplies and clothing for at-risk homeless students. Maybe it needs to be done, if it's really $5,000 to support things. Sorry, I can't remember the word tonight. For homeless students, maybe it needs to be how can we support homeless students bucket.
okay,
Or organizations that focus on homeless students, and I'm assuming there is one, I would certainly hope so, maybe there is one located in Seaside, maybe there isn't. I'm not really sure.
My recommendation would be we just kind of bring them together and talk about dollars that we're asking for to help collaborate with organizations that work with Seaside community members who are at risk of homelessness, which is B in our work plan. And then maybe underneath it, we will be exploring the following, right? Holiday donations. Yeah, I would say the 5,000, and I would even include the 12,000 in that. That's collaboration with our,
insecurities.
yeah.
Okay.
And then the one we were just talking about with, which is currently section D, right? Investigating options to provide additional services. You could imagine that we would ask for maybe $10,000 to work with organizations to support things like laundry, minor car repairs, bike repairs,
Right,
those kinds of things. The mobile hygiene unit, I think that's going to end up being something that we have to advocate for.
I believe so. So if we combined the two 5,000s and made it in a way where we could use the funds more without too many limitations, 10,000 plus the 12,000 on the insecurities is 22,000. You said you wanted to add another 10,000?
That was under part D.
Okay.
So that would be for it's currently part D in our work plan, investigating options to provide additional services.
Okay,
I was thinking, just, I mean, when it's just 10,000, I would think that's more. I would discuss.
I'm just trying to get the buckets before I get on top of the dollars, sorry, I can't keep straight my mind without being able to see and know on my board. So I've got presentation for solution, facilitate community outreach. And I thought you had, I'm sorry, Commissioner, you were saying you have one bucket that would combine the food insecurity program, the holiday donation, and
The back funds.
and
That was the collaboration, right? That's part B.
so that
Right.
would be, I'm hoping in our budget, we can thank our partners, because I really like that we have which part of our plan, but there's no way really unsafe to be related, I never, for me, really to do enough. So you call collaboration.
And then the voices component could be the 2,500 and the 2,500, right?
okay,
Presentations, the support for community homeless outreach.
okay,
Yes.
So part C for that though too.
That would be for right? And then for part D, whatever the number is we want to ask for to do this, the things that you have on your list.
So I'm still trying to get on top of it. There's a bucket mitigation solution about the facilitate community outreach. Another bucket for collaborating, supporting local organizations. And that's what we're doing now, like food insecurity, money, security. All right. Food insecurity, holiday. And I think we did gift card donations, right? That was that's pretty much what we did, right?
No. This year, I provided the checks. So we had voted on just breaking up the funds for the, the identified organizations to support. And then we allowed them to, decide how to break it down based off the needs that they were going to be more informed about than us.
So, and I'll put that back.
The flyers without saying it.
Yeah. School.
So you just cover it. Right.
And everybody, I don't think the advantages of going to school, like, I don't know, like buying gym clothes or, no, I don't know, I don't think so I don't think about it. How to go, but school. Supplies, and so, school supplies for students. And then was there, I apologize, I can't keep up with these items, was there another bucket? A budget bucket you guys couldn't take, so you can facilitate community outreach and collaborate and supporting local organizations.
So B is the collaboration with local organizations. C is the listening to the voices, right? The outreach and the presentations and the forum, and then D, I think, is where we could ask for budget to fund the things that have on your list, sort of those additional things that come up.
Oh, I thought that was gonna be collaborating and supporting the local organizations. So
Well-
D would be supporting local organizations.
Right, okay.
Can we, is there a way we can type some of this up on the screen? Derek? I think we did that last year when we were, I think, working on this work plan, we were typing it up.
Well, do we need to do that? I mean,
Yeah,
we
it's like,
kind
right,
of-
I can help you organize it, right?
Okay.
It's, there's something unclear.
I think I understand it. I'm just drawing arrows all over my page to kind of showing where they go, but I get it. Point of information, there's nothing on our budget in category A. That's more like duties and things that we as commissioners or staff would do, right? Under A in the work plan.
it's-
I didn't
Yes,
either.
yeah.
But then there's
Yeah.
rental assistance programs.
So if we're combining any of these items in a way,
Yeah, A's, I think, is more like, research and development
Right.
and advocacy, right? And
making
then,
phone calls.
Yep.
Right, so there's not gonna be budget in there.
right, and then B is to engage, amplify, collaborate with organizations, which we can think about as when we supported the food insecurity programs, when we
Right.
did the holiday donations. Those were activities that, related to that item.
Okay, so when we do combine this, I would say we would list our budget items in those categories. So B, C, and D. We
Yep.
would say what that category is called, and then as an example, we'd say, as an example, in B, which is engage and amplify, collaborate, we would say, example, food insecurities, holiday donations, school supplies. And then was that also the assisting maybe private corporations, like what we would do for those miscellaneous funds, or is that in D?
That's D.
That's D,
Right,
okay,
because if you think about how D is written, it's options to provide additional services to the unhoused, right? So
Right.
those are just all of the things, like, Commissioner Cunningham has suggested for laundry, for bike repairs, for those things, right? Those are additional services beyond the main activities, right, is making sure they're fed, they're sheltered, or, that the organizations that are already existing have the funds to meet their needs in some way. Yeah.
Okay. It's. Okay, and then can I do a point of information, Derek? I'd like to
Yes.
read the email that is in the packet about the mobile hygiene unit.
Oh, okay.
That one's at the back, right? Okay, so it's an email from Chief Gutierrez to you, Derek?
Yes, so this was in relation to, trying to gather any information that was already explored or compiled, to understand, the process for, trying to make something like the mobile hygiene unit happen, in Seaside. And so, just based off kind of what the chief was able to do, she engaged with our finance director. She had presented the item, of course, to the council. There's new council members now versus who were in place last time. And then, initially, basically in the end, from researching other programs as best as they could, they kind of came up with the figures that you see below. So it says portable shower unit, total cost to purchase vehicle, trailer, generator, etc., and operate the first year, approximately, $212,000, and so then even further broken down, one-time costs. So thinking of things like the shower unit itself, the truck to pull the unit with the tow package, generator for the unit, a trailer wrap to identify the unit. The items might be, approximately $150,000. And then the ongoing costs, which would be yearly, right? Because it's not something that, would just happen one time, and it does require people to maintain, operate, oversee, etc. And so, some of the research show possibly, at least 64,000 just for the staff alone, right? With some question marks around what would it cost to insure something like that? If it required maintenance and, of the vehicle itself or the unit, the shower units, what that might cost, weekly cleaning out, things of those nature. And some of that might be included in the staffing, right? Like for instance, the weekly cleaning out and things, possibly if we had the appropriate staff that oversees it, that could be built in. But this is what she was able to provide based off her, speaking with the finance director, them doing a little research, and understanding at least, from those efforts, what this endeavor might, take. We're gonna, the significant portion of our guidance, we're relying on, the organization that, Commissioner Nash is contacting, who already runs it and in multiple cities, to really give us, more information so it can be an informed decision.
Okay, so this is, if I understand correctly, this is Chief Gutierrez's estimate, because we had come up, I think, last year with the $48,000 number.
And that, as far as I understood, and because this was prior to us taking over, but this was okay as an initial amount that the council might be able to start putting towards the development of it, right?
Okay.
Meaning no, yeah. At that particular time, that's
That was my memory. You were on. My memory was 48,000.
I see, right. And I think that's why really it's gonna benefit us to have the meeting and get more informed, because the first time that they presented, it was more of a generalized, this is what it is, this is what it could do. and show them how, yeah, right, but they didn't give us any details related to what they're, how to financially, set
Right.
it up, to running it yearly, to any of those things that, will help inform us more on, how to advocate for it.
Okay. So we'll find out more about it as we have the meeting. So I guess,
When the meeting's gonna be? Do we have a sense?
So we did make a motion to discuss this as an additional agenda item after we're done with the work
Okay.
plan. So we'll get the information from Commissioner Nash.
okay, so we'll move back to this section on item B with the budget. There's 48,000.
And if I got this wrong.
Okay.
If you get it for the water line, we're about to get some money.
Okay,
In my mind.
okay,
The first two are related to items in our work plan. C is presentation for solutions. And the other one is facilitating community outreach.
Mhm.
For ISD, collaboration and supporting local organizations is what it includes, but not only the two for food security, holiday donations, school supply for homeless kids. And I'm not sure we did anything for safe parking this year, but I would love to help the safe parking program. And in any way we can, because I am a way to, we just have to find a way to help people with registration or whatever. I would like to make sure. there's parking. And then item D, I support local organizations with all grants, bad wording, I'm not gonna start hurting, but that would be like supporting bike repair, minor car repairs, is there, we used to have a point, there's people donated our phone charging unit to us, but where it went, and just other insurance, maybe, this, I have a list of like, the things I have listed, another thing that, I don't know if we have any organizations that help people get legal ID. We have to get a job without legal ID. And that a lot of times hold people back because they can't get a job if they don't have a legal ID, they can't afford to get a legal ID. But anyway, that's what I put for support local organizations with.
So at least with the ID, our program does have the reduced fee, no fee waivers. For IDs, not driver's license, IDs, right? The only caveat to that is the individuals themselves have to be able to have their, birth certificate and their pieces of mail and things like that, right? Because we're moving into this real ID phase, right, where all that stuff's required, but at least with the fee portion, there is already a support that we can, as a family community support program, offer.
Collaborating, supporting local organizations and support for local organizations with small grants / miscellaneous funding. I don't know the better word, but those are the four buckets.
I'll play around with the wording.
Yeah, those are the four buckets.
okay,
Next time we're going to talk about the mobile home.
right.
Four buckets.
And we can clean up the wording, right, on this. So do the buckets, would they take into account something like helping out with homeless pets?
That's in this list.
Okay,
I did provide, I did provide a whole bunch of local pet organizations for farmers, one of them.
okay,
That helps people, and I gotta provide all the information on how to do it.
It is on.
right,
It's
and
on-
SPCA is also on there?
It's on there.
Okay. Okay, so then what's our total budget now for,
Any numbers for buckets, presentation for solutions, facilitate community outreach, collaboration for supporting local organizations, and then support for these miscellaneous small grants. Right. All the extra stuff, the stuff we didn't fund this year, this would be stuff we didn't fund this year. The other three were things we did last year, right? We had money for presentations, which could be within a mobile unit. I am trying to get this meeting because outreach manager. And then we did we included food insecurity, holiday donations, backpacks. And for food insecurity, we did 12K last year. We did 5K for holidays, 5K.
For the backpack to change to supplies versus, maybe all like operating together. And so with that added, and then we suggested the 10,000 be added to D. So it changed it from my 75, that was literally the request of adding 10, brings it to 85.
That would, yeah, okay, so I see it as 85 would be the total. My question is would that be too much of an ask? I know we asked and got approved for 75,000 last year. And I'm wondering, is that too much of an ask? Do we need to cut down any of these numbers to maybe get it closer to say like 80,000 or? What are your thoughts?
2,500 for food patients, 2,500 to facilitate any else. Food insecurity holiday, and so that we don't want to adjust those numbers at all. Last year, I think we should ask for everything and let them set the budget. Let's not set the budget or not.
Okay,
Which is okay, right, and I would say what will support the council being more willing is completion of things, right? So before the fiscal year, we want to get the listening session done. We want to, right? Because then if we're going and saying, oh, give us money for something we didn't even do this fiscal year, they may be more like, well, then if you weren't able to get it done in your previous fiscal year, why would we want to, fund it again if it looks like it's not something that your commission is able to complete?
right. We have pretty much completed everything else. That really the mobile hygiene unit has been, it's a process.
I think that was expected to be something that would be a longer term,
So
endeavor to take on. But otherwise, yeah, some of the other items, we want to try to make sure we get done before.
Okay,
Yeah, and we could potentially, I know we're talking about this next, but we could potentially ask the folks if they're willing to rent the facilities to us, like, maybe a couple days a month or something. Somebody comes down and they have it here. So almost like a pilot program. Kind of get a sense of, yeah, and I know we're talking about that next. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Get excited now. It's all right.
I would like to propose we double our food insecurity budget to 24K. Derek, do you think that the organizations in our community could use twice the budget that we gave them?
They certainly could. I think we still want to be reasonable about how much we're trying to, recommend requests from the council, right? If we're already asking for an increase, then, like you said, we can ask, and if you want them to cut, but my fear is the larger it gets, they're gonna want to cut a lot then versus,
Okay, so we had 4 organizations that we gave money to through the food insecurity program, correct? 4?
That's correct.
What if we add another $4,000 and raise our budget to 16K, so we could, and we could get more responses to our RFP next year? Or do you guys just want to keep it at 12?
so I like I said, I like the idea of it increase. I was thinking like just like $1,500, not $1,500, like increasing it by about $3,000, like a little increase, but that's bringing our total ask at close to $90,000.
No, scratch that 48, because that we're not I thought we're not working on the 48.
Oh, that's gonna be, we're not gonna do that then?
No, I'm not saying we're not doing it. I'm saying I think we should
Oh,
work on, are we gonna ask for another 48,000 when we didn't spend 48,000 this year
oh,
for the mobile?
I see
I'm
what
trying
you're
to
saying.
do the budget for not including the hygiene unit, what our budget is, not including the hygiene unit. Maybe do we need to decide on the total that we want to ask and then figure out how to divide it up versus what we want to spend individually and then add it up?
So the remaining budget not including the 10,000 we added is 27,000, so it would be 37,000 before your ask for an increase of the food insecurities program.
Okay, I'm sorry, okay, so we spent 17,000. We have another 5,000 for a presentation in the listening session. So that's 17 plus that is 22. And then there was the 5,000 for the backpacks we didn't spend. Or is that what you're saying
I did my
I wish we had a
math.
whiteboard.
Yeah,
His math is correct. I did that math as well.
so did you
Yeah.
have 37,000?
Yes, if
Okay.
we were to exclude the 48,000, for the mobile hygiene unit, then yes, the total with what's listed here with no increases would be, yes, 37,000. And the only increase is that $10,000.
I'm gonna have to get my calculator out.
Yes,
I mean, I'm not seeing that.
no worries.
So we're starting with last year's budget.
Right,
So yeah, just, it's the 12, 5, 10, 15 and 12 is 27 plus another 10 is 37. If you were to add another $3,000, you would have an even $40,000.
so how do you feel about a $15,000 food insecurities budget?
Make it an even 40.
Okay, I'm still trying to get to, you're saying 37.
That's because we also, that's including
The
the
10,000.
additional $10,000 for the smaller, supports, yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, I'm at 27,000
There you go.
last year, so we're saying that 10,000 budget for the item for D. Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't.
Right, it's right, it's worth, yeah, no worries.
Okay, so if we kept everything the same as last year, excluding the hygiene unit, because that's just complicated, we all did it's complicated. And we did 10,000 for D, then you're saying we're at 37,000,
Yes.
Mhm.
which is half what we asked for last year, am I roughly half?
And the other 2,000 to it, and then the 40 will increase our.
Oh, okay, so we're just a little over half what we asked for last year.
Right,
So we're talking 15K for food, but we still keep holiday at 5 and the school stuff at 5 and maybe do nothing for safe parking.
Well, but I think we're, right, I think based on what we were talking about earlier, it would be more generic, right? So we're suggesting that these are the types of things that we would go after under that collaboration with the folks in the community. And it could be that school supplies is like $3,000 and holiday
right,
donations
right.
is maybe $3,000. And then there's maybe something else that comes
Okay.
up that we want to think
Right.
about, right?
Right,
and the way that we're wording it is that programs such as safe parking or something like SPCA, that would still fit the parameters of the buckets.
okay, so we're looking at 2,500 for presentations, 2,500 to facilitate community outreach, 20K for the collaboration, support local organizations, and 10K to support local organizations with small grants, miscellaneous funding for a total of, is that 37?
40.
Oh, that's 40, thank you. 40 for 40K.
The collaboration, though, if you added the $3,000 would be $25,000. Because you've got 15 for the food insecurity, you have 5 for holiday,
That's
5 for backpacks, right? So that would be 25, just to make it right. Am I right about that?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm really bad at math, so I appreciate
Yeah,
the
that's
help.
great. I'm just
So
trying to make the numbers work.
35, so that brings us to a budget ask of 40K, which is nearly half what we asked for last year, excluding the hygiene unit, which is
Right.
different funding. I mean, in my mind, it's complicated. I mean, I don't know how you get 48,000, spend it, but you really need 200,000. How does that work?
Yeah.
My guess is we backwards mapped to it.
Okay, so it looks like we'll have a $40,000 budget, right? So I believe we're at a point where we can vote on this. Is there any further discussion from commissioners or anything that needs to be changed? That commissioners might want to mention?
I would just mention that we got $75,000 last year. We should split this, depending on what goes on with the hygiene unit.
Right,
I would say they gave us 75,000 last year. Maybe they'd give us 75,000 this year. I hate to ask for half that, and then they might say, wow, but anyways,
The point is that because the mobile vehicle was earmarked for something in particular. And because we have not been able to solidify what can transpire with that, I'm hoping that we're not going to be, like penalized.
Right.
Because that's something we just could walk into anyway.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. That's not a, oh, we figured that out in a week, and didn't make it happen, right? Yeah. Right.
Well, I think that's where we're gonna see more advocacy, right? I mean, I think if
Yeah.
after the presentation, I think it becomes something that we advocate for based on what the chief has here in the email, and then. We still have this year's budget potentially, and I know this is the next
Yeah.
item, but I would argue that. We should see if we can do something with that money and actually rent it or have them here as a. Example. So I'm sorry. I know, we keep going.
But that's good to lead into that, so we've got.
is this our last meeting? When's this budget being solid?
The work plan has to be turned in April 1st.
Saturday.
Yeah, the budget it's not the budget meeting, so that's different. Right, but the work plan. And I'd have to go back and inquire about that. And so that's why I said. That's probably why it said expected, and then if it needed to, for whatever reason, I'm sure something would have been, stricken from it. If it was not, then when the budget meeting happened, where all the recommendations were then put in for this. Yeah, so for now, I'm almost positive it's got to be fluid enough that, we're listing what's expected, not necessarily knowing if it's going to happen yet, right? And that's one of the challenges of turning in a work plan before the budget meeting, but it's, the process.
Well, I'm hoping on next year's calendar, we get more than one shot at this. But that's not now, right now, what do I need to do? I need to make a motion. I make a motion that we have $2,500 for item C, presentations for solutions. 2,500 item C, facilitate community outreach. B, collaboration and support local organizations, 25,000. D, support local organizations with small grants, miscellaneous things for a 10,000 for a total of $40,000.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Members of the public wishing to comment on agenda item C, the 2023-2024 work plan. You have 3 minutes to do so. Please state your name. Do we have anyone online? Anyone from the public?
Chair Strickland, there is no one online wishing to make public comment.
Very well. So all in favor of accepting work plan as discussed, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion passes. We have our new work plan. Okay, so now we're moving on to our additional item on the agenda where we were going to discuss the mobile hygiene unit. Let me just find our agenda here. So we were adding, discussing the mobile hygiene unit. How was it worded? How were we going to discuss the logistics of this? Or Commissioner Nash, were you going to talk to us about this?
It's basically in communication with the providers of this vehicle. Facility currently, they have 3 to 4 locations that they currently facilitate, as well as use their computer today because they're putting one in position in red. And so they're willing to come and they're willing to present for the days that they are available throughout the week. It would be a Thursday, 8 a.m. to 11, or Thursday to 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. when they can present. Where the information can be provided. But we really have to also say that it would be feasible for the vehicle to come for review and to confirm location where it can be presented. And I'm quite sure that we have to collaborate and talk about how we want to, is it the staffing of the council that needs to be there to see this? A vehicle, so what is it that they put in that we can literally go back and presenters to be here with them that's a new situation. But it is a lot more than we anticipated of 48,000. But from what I understand, that the collaboration from the initial council was to keep the 48,000 and not take it off the table, even though we did not know in advance what it really would take to purchase, facilitate, or even use another can be that they have to offer us to do this project.
Okay. So moving forward, is there a way we can still keep some of this on, would it still be technically our work plan, or would it be something else we would have to approve? As far as, would it be a motion to pick a date for them to come and give a presentation to us, or what are our next steps?
So, yeah, we would need to identify a date, but part of that is their availability, right? I mean, the challenge is for it.
And so,
Is that the Zoom call and?
no, the Zoom call could be separate, because we could. That's any.
Is that just,
the
is
first.
that it, Friday?
Yes, we could decide that, hear everything that they have to say, if that's, we're in agreement with that. But in the same token, I guess while we have them there, let's see what is a date for them, or they locked in, or whatever, to bring the deal down, and then we could bring the council in as to if what's available for them, if they're okay.
So you said the Zoom calls are either Thursday or East 11 p.m. or
One,
on Thursdays as well. Those are the times.
on Thursday, but Fridays are a time. When,
Oh, that Fridays.
What about the dinner and what they?
as far as. So I'm quite sure they can make it 7 a.m. to 5 a.m.
Okay,
Thursday between 8 and 11,
Yes, and one
or one.
or Thursdays and Fridays, any kind of.
okay. I guess my only preference would be later in the day. So either the Thursday 1 to 4 p.m. or Friday, anytime later in the afternoon that, works.
And when, and that's the other thing, looking at our calendar, just what they want to state.
And just to be clear, the presentation would be an hour. The Zoom call would be an hour, or is it 4 hours? Okay, because, okay, okay, just would
Okay.
like to know how long that presentation is, and then is that presentation gonna answer some of our budget questions?
Yes.
I do not see any reason to bring the mobile units. I think it's great. I'm all for it. I don't see any reason to bring it here if we can't finance it. And if Seaside doesn't want to take legal responsibility of this unit, then what's the point?
Right.
I think they're great. I'm a big fan of it. There's some guy doing laundry up and I mean, I think it's great. But before they come down and we say, here's this thing that we just can't afford, the city's not gonna fund, they're not gonna hire a person, or we can't hire a person because we just can't hire anybody. I think we've got to have a really good, solid budget and answer some questions. Who's gonna organize it? Who's gonna clean it? Who's buying gas? How much is the insurance roughly? And I'm positive these people can answer all these questions. Yeah, but we need I believe we need a solid budget before we plan on bringing them down and making a presentation and then ask to the council. We can't just say, well, we want $200,000 and.
And it's a year ongoing portion. I mean, the breakdown that Chief had, it shows the bulk of it, but then when you look at maintenance, when you look at insurance, there's another cost that's going to transpire throughout the year.
Okay.
It's not pennies.
Yeah.
There's no way. And then we look at the big huge water container they have to fill the back of it. And then the other thing for me, what water disparity. And so I hear that some people were saying they don't plan on lifting it, but it's lift. You know, so
Right.
those all those.
We have the planning director on the call, on the Zoom call, just to listen.
We're gonna try. It just depends when we schedule it. I'm more than happy to reach out then and, you know, ask if he can, you know.
Well, can I make a suggestion? Is that if you could talk to them to find out what Friday or time between Thursday and Friday will work, and then finance the issue. And then you bring it to them, to come back.
Sure.
To you that day, not to.
Let's to the-
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so I'll reach out to the finance. I want to be able to not keep it so vague though and say, hey, you're ready, some random Thursday, Friday. Do we want to try to do it next month, you know, or May, our next regular meeting is in May,
People will be more
right?
easy.
But if we want to hold a special meeting in April to do it, then,
Yes, with us and the finance.
okay.
Is it called a special meeting or is it just?
Anything related to commission activities has to be public.
okay.
So,
And I have a question.
so do we have to be here then if it's a Zoom call, or can we be?
That's a good question.
Yeah, right. There may be some wiggle room with that. I'll double check, but that seems more reasonable, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'll check on that, yeah.
Then other question comes to finance, because I got exposed to the senator the other day. Concerning this, when we're looking at our local community, dealing with our city staff council. How far are they able to go up to seek assistance where this is done? Or is it just how within our local city budget?
I don't know, I mean, that might be a way to, once we understand, we can do some internal matching about what the possibilities are. But
And how far our city council commitment and finance you is willing to do? Or do we just pay them?
You mean, can you as commissioners engage with city leadership? Yeah, right. So on the, sure, well, on the city website, right? I mean, all the city council's information and the ability to contact them is there, you know, and so, and again, I highly encourage that the commission starts taking a lead in advocating for what you want to do. You know, it coming from me, it's hard to distinguish between my role as a staff member for the city and if I'm asking from that capacity versus if I'm asking on behalf of you, but then if I'm asking on behalf of you, the city's less inclined because again, it's just an exactly.
right, okay. So that would kind of go back to where, as advocates ourselves, it's kind of on us to engage. Okay.
Yeah, and I would suggest that right, it's beneficial and positive to network with the, you know, city leadership and build those relationships. You know, I mean, you're already, you know, are awesome by volunteering because you care about this community and want to, you know, see it grow and be vibrant for all members, specifically the unhoused. And,
Right.
you know, it's important for the city to know you, right? In my opinion, yeah.
At some point, we have to work in such, looking at our work and trying to think about how to begin these things that are.
Sure.
So there's gonna require advocacy from one of us to be on this council, like, we need to think about like, there's a like, who's doing what and when. We all have.
Yep.
Stuff in our lives.
Right.
So we just- But I just think it would really work well.
Mhm.
We want to start. When do we start? When do we want to start?
Right, and so with that, the commission has to decide when you want to do those things, right? So we can have a meeting, like you said, where we're multiple meetings where we're breaking down how and when you guys want to start that. I can give you the hard and fast deadline stuff of like fiscal year starts here, the work plans due then, right? But it's not up to me to decide when y'all want to start, right? You know, and because again, I'm supposed to just be a liaison. I'd probably speak more than I'm supposed to sometimes, in these meetings, because it really is about the commission making decisions for itself. And we're just that connection with the bridge between the city and you, but not seeming as if I'm making decisions for you, if that makes sense.
Right.
That's the guidance.
Okay.
Especially helping us
Yeah.
with, especially like helping me with just not understanding the rules of the road. So here's the rules of the road question.
Right.
Are
And it's
you-
not, I'm not saying I don't mind, I'm just saying, I want to make sure it, to the public too, in the community and even the city leadership that doesn't seem that they're telling the commission this is how you should do it and when and those things, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So did you say we could request having a working session? So does that just mean us working together on our calendar of when we know we need to, like, we should start on the working plan in January, so we're not doing it 3 days before it's due, and
Right.
It still has to be a public meeting because
It's
it's a commission, right, but we can have a special meeting in between, or you can have it be an agenda item at one of the, during the regular meetings. It just depends how you want to, do it. Well, yeah, I mean, it's always offered to the public, right? Any meetings we have are always open to the public to attend. Yeah.
So what's the difference between a special meeting and a working session? Or is it the
A
same?
regular meeting are those meetings that,
No, so there's a regular meeting, a special meeting, and is there a thing called a working session?
no,
or-
they're just either regular meetings or special meetings, right? And special meetings are planned meetings outside of what the commission has, decided upon when it wants to meet, right? And so when I had reached out and we, communicated through that audit form and how we,
I was confused that working session and special meeting are interchangeable words.
sorry about that. Yeah.
They're all public.
Right.
and I don't know, do we need to make a motion to have
Let me pull up our meeting
special
schedule for this year. So you
session.
can see.
to build this calendar? I mean, the first time's gonna be hard, but I think once we get it done, it should be able to roll annually and with adjustments. So, I think when we get to commissioner comments, I will. I'll ask.
So
Day after Memorial Day is the meeting. I'm sure it's.
Those are all the dates I had put out there and when,
May 30.
so that's, so it's a 3-day weekend. And so I'm guessing that's a 3-day weekend, so Tuesday, because a lot of people travel on Memorial Day weekends. Okay.
it's a challenge of when I was presented the form and then going, all right, for an entire commission. I'll do my best to try to collectively get everybody to be agreeable to coming up with meetings for a whole year, Right.
So I was just curious, so going back, do we need to have a vote to pick a date for the Zoom presentation?
No, so right, and so to summarize, as far as how I understood Commissioner Nash's update about this item, and then as the commission just discussed it and how they'd like to move forward with it was, we do want to schedule a Zoom call, which will be informative and allow us to ask detailed questions specifically about budget things, as that's important, but anything else as it relates to manning it, operating it, caring of it, ensuring it, all of those things that are important, right?
Okay,
And then she proposed Thursdays or Fridays is their availability with, specific time windows.
okay,
But first, before we schedule that, I'm going to go back, reach out to our finance director, because we find that it will be beneficial to have the finance director in on that and see what the availability is with those windows that we already have now. And then, coming back and requesting that, then we schedule that.
okay. So I guess my question is if there's no need to vote on that right now, unless there's further discussion on presentation on the mobile hygiene unit. I believe we can move to the reports from commissioners towards conclusion of our meeting.
Could you ask them to consider like a rental program? They actually rent out to cities.
I don't know if the term is rent, but they do have another option.
Yeah.
That they want to bring versus us being able to.
Purchase
I
it
think it hurts.
for ownership.
And in the middle, of course, you can ask whether the option is to have that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's also a revenue stream for them, right? So I mean, I can imagine that taking off, and this is a sports city is going into, not necessarily.
And yes, they made this 40,000 be used
Well, yeah,
for that problem. I don't know. That's.
we're not here for it, yeah.
Yeah, we don't do that again, but yeah.
But I mean, I think if this guy knows how to do 2 weeks, maybe that's a.
Yeah, there's that.
Option for them to consider as part of.
But the other aspect that we were looking at too, where it's bringing jobs to our community as well as meeting the need. Here as well. But with the finance individual, I don't know what the problem.
Finance director.
Finance director being there, and I don't know, I'll say it like this, when I go to insurance for my dental. Depending on who that person is that's looking at my insurance and they know I got Medicare, they know I got TRICARE, they know I have my personal insurance, they know how to work that thing. So all I'm saying is that I'm trusting that our finance director knows that whether the city has it or not, what are our other outlets, what are our other resources that we can tap into to still make this event.
Yeah,
Yep.
that makes sense. Yeah.
And just a question, I'm not sure if this is the right time. Are we expecting to use this mobile hygiene unit exclusively within Seaside, and how many days a month would it be used?
That's what we.
Those could be some-
For him.
Yep.
But we make the decision, I guess, along with the council already. Because one of the things I think that we both have to really lock into the time is it has to sit somewhere, and so it has to be in the agreement partner with us. Which will allow it to.
You mean it's just gonna be parked permanently in one location?
It has to be housed.
Yeah, but you mean just overnight and then the next morning it goes off to wherever it's gonna be? So every night it needs a parking place. And then, okay, so that's and the truck. That has to be housed somewhere, secure, of course, you know, whatever, best, whatever.
Now,
Okay,
you talk
check it.
about it because the spot on the, what do you call it, the power station location, and I didn't pay on it.
It's-
Look at you.
All right, I tell you that if you haven't looked at the city website at the proposed new fire station, it is stunning, and the mural on our.
On the
existing
turn, ooh, I
is
love it.
stunning.
I saw that online.
It's out on Scum, I mean, the old corridor.
Corridor, yeah.
I didn't see the street location, but it's beautiful. It's gonna be part of New Seaside. They gotta protect, the campus town. All that housing that's gonna go out there with campus town and other stuff. So I'm assuming I think it's as part of that, part of it. But again, one of my questions is gonna be is how many days a month is this mobile shower unit gonna be used? If it's gonna be used 3 days a month, I just don't see the point. And then I get a lot of emails from the county. I just can't attend all these meetings. But County Salinas seems to be doing a lot of things,
Right.
and maybe the city of Seaside is not the right, going to your point, Commissioner. You know, maybe the city of Seaside is not the right group to fund this 100%. Maybe to make sure we're getting full utilization, it really should be North County or something else. But I don't have any contacts with, any of those people, and I do not have any time during the 5 days a week to go make contacts, go to these meetings. There's lots of stuff going on. I just do not have the bandwidth to do anything.
I'm engaged in a lot of collaborative meetings across the county. So, I mean, it can be a natural fit into check-ins and discussions and things like that part.
Is
That can
there somebody
happen.
from that area we should
Right.
be invited to this special meeting?
If anything, it's inviting,
Or
I'm
other
thinking,
cities?
I can think of at least two individuals that I would want to invite. Genevieve, who now oversees the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers, and then Roxanne Wilson, who's now the county overseer of homeless.
Right, so this
services
could
and
be more
things,
than
right?
one unit,
And so,
it could be more
and
than
then
just-
they
Right.
can inform
Right.
down below them, but.
Right.
Can I ask a question? Think it's a peaceful thing for them to come in?
We can invite them if they have the availability.
Yeah, please, yeah.
What about other cities? We've got a lot of, like Seaside's not the only city here.
So
Come on.
that's just it. They oversee the COC and the county services,
Right,
every city,
So,
right?
right,
And
right.
COC continuing care for all homeless
But I didn't. know if we wanted-
programming. Yeah, and so, and then they'll know how to
Right,
branch out to
Right.
other cities and so, but that's
and
why it's
maybe
like,
they have a storage facility out on Scout.
Right.
where there's lots of
Yeah,
space,
county-
Lots of parking lots out.
county might know, right? The efforts that the endeavor that they took on for these they were able to put up makeshift evacuation shelters and parking lots. I mean, they have the capacity
Right,
with enough motivation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
excellent. Excellent. I'm feeling much, thank you, Derek, so much for reaching out to the whole, it's
The Coalition of Homeless Services Providers,
I don't know how you pronounce it.
CHSP.
Uh, We could hand it off. Yeah, we could hand it off. But I think the fact that we did a lot of work, we started to get the ball rolling, like.
We want to make sure it benefits definitely the city of Seaside in some way, but but sharing it is, not
I think
a
there's a lot
bad
of
thing at
people
all.
in Papa Row who might like a shower and a laundry right now.
Right.
So it can be,
It
you know.
it can be used for
emergency
emergencies,
services.
yeah, emergency use.
Yeah.
We can do, yeah, the work.
Oh, right. Right. Disaster, right,
And
So-
how much did the city spend for the mobile high, because we had a mobile unit when the
Right.
fire department was being remodeled, I can't remember what the chief said, we were spending $6,000 a month for a mobile unit for the firemen to wash,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
Yeah, they had
Yeah.
half of them housed over at Oldenmeyer Center. I mean, it was quite an endeavor to. Yeah, I was right around when I had started my position, because there was always a giant fire truck parked at Oldenmeyer Center, so.
Your growth has been fabulous to watch, as I hope we're growing as a
We have,
council in our
I
skill
think
set.
we have,
I think so for sure.
very
Yeah,
much so.
Yeah, you have, and I just see even more growth, as we continue on.
Anybody else, but when this gentleman came out,
Oh, who me?
Keeping us organized. Oh,
Okay,
and I do want to highlight,
thank you.
there are. Three, I think this is the seven.
Right behind the building.
So- so I do want to highlight that, this is a 7-member body. We have technically 5 with Commissioner Feast on a leave of absence, so there are technically 2 vacancies, so. You want to start encouraging, putting out the word for folks to apply, so that we can grow the commission. That can only benefit us, so.
Every chance I get, I do that with anyone I can think of. So I guess we're moving along to the reports from commissioners. Commissioner Cunningham, did you say you wanted to discuss something in the reports from commissioners section?
You mean the meeting count?
Yeah, and I think we're gonna have that special session on, anyway, I can't believe that. I'm probably gonna have to review that for some special.
Okay,
For the survey and listing session and
Okay.
where it's gonna be and how to reach out to people. I think they're got a lot of contacts, we can reach out to people
okay.
and but it. I just don't know how hard that is gonna be and and I'm hoping for. But April, I'll be in good shape to do something like that. I really, I'm feeling.
Okay. We can totally figure that out, and I'm totally fine if we want to have one of those next month. Are there any other reports from commissioners at this time?
I'd just like to make a suggestion if I can, that if we can go ahead and, I guess, try to, set a date to cover those other 3 items, so we can go ahead and meet those food supplies and, yeah, go ahead and spend it, have a date to come back and collaborate, so we can spend it and say what we're gonna do, what's those funds and spend before.
Oh, for the backpack school supplies?
Yeah, we did not spend it.
So spend it for next year's school year?
It's because what we have, if we have not spent, we have spent by June, correct?
Right, the expected expenditures as a right, by end of June,
Spend,
right,
let's get it.
as per what was listed as expected expenditures, right? There's still certain categories, right? And
Okay.
we do have a meeting in May. Right, I'd have to think who is a point of contact for the districts. That's what I mean, the school district, I can. Right, so
Right.
let me, I will get that, I'll send, I'll send out a, point of contact for that.
Okay. Were there any further reports from commissioners? I just wanted to thank you guys all for the work you do for showing up. I think we're doing a lot of good. And that's my report. Reports from staff.
So just highlighting this again, which was brought up by Commissioner Mugen, but here's just the flyer for the community input session that will be taking place April 5th at the Monterey Public Library. And so, whoever can attend, it's going to be beneficial and inform the commission at, a future meeting. You'll deal with it. Unfortunately, I have another activity already scheduled for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Great, perfect. And then I'll just pass it around. Two of the organizations, Allen Friends Sunday Breakfast, and then the Veterans Transition Center sent to some, thank you card. And then there's a picture of me and the folks, at the Veterans Transition Center, as I presented the check. So
Awesome.
just a quick glance real quick.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And then I don't have much else to share besides those things.
Okay.
And just to say, I appreciate you and someone who, obviously life is dedicated to service, to have people, and at least I'm compensated with the salary, but to have folks volunteer their time such as yourselves is, really noble. So I appreciate you. And I'm a firm believer that this work takes more than just those who are in a professional capacity or hired to do it. It takes the community, and you are representatives of that community.
Thank you. Thank you. So with that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? A second. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Say nay. I'm not saying nay. It's unanimous. We're adjourned.
That you're very quietly running the computer with, if you haven't been listening, the young lady who does all that, I just have got so much respect. And for you also.
You saw that?
Thank you so much.
No, city council is every Thursday.
Every other Thursday.